This particular module that I'm just about to teach you is one of the first things that is useful to do before you do anything. One of the things that is quite critical in the context of a relationship is knowing that you have some level of rapport. And if you have a level of rapport, it's almost like anything is possible in the context of rapport. Rapport is just a feeling that people get inside. And the feeling that they get inside is that you're okay, or you're safe, or I feel comfortable, or I feel able to be able to converse. Have you found that over the years there are times where people will tell you things that they don't tell other people? You ever found yourself in spaces like that where people go, geez, I've never told anyone this ever. Why am I sharing this with you? That happens to me a lot, and it happens to me a lot because A, I'm in the space of it. You know, I'm working as a coach, so people will often tell you things that they wouldn't normally tell other people. But it doesn't just happen to me in a coaching space, it happens to me at parties, at meetings, at breakfasts and things like that where there are other people around. But I have this ability to be able to build a level of rapport with people, and only because I've followed it, I've studied it, and I've practiced it. Rapport is just that moment where you feel like somebody gets you. You know, somebody really gets you, someone really understands you. And it is, in essence, it's the basis of practice that happens. Now, rapport goes so deep. It's not just matching physiology, and it's not just matching tonality and matching breathing and blinking and all of those things. It happens in tribes. People will build rapport by uniform. You know, when we wear a similar uniform, we are in the one tribe, we are in the one group. Could you imagine if you worked in an office where everyone gets in suits, you know, and let's say they're traditional black suits, you know, and women wear suits, men wear suits, and you go in there in board shorts, or you go in there in, you know, your bikini. It would feel incredibly odd, wouldn't it? You know, immediately, even just trying it on with your imagination, it would be hilarious.
What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly, and that would be the response that you would get. So what happens is those things don't happen. What people do is they aim to blend as much as they can within the tribe. So anybody who gets outside of that will be seen as a threat, in essence. It'll be seen as a threat. A rebel, or a nonconformist, an agitator, or anyone along that line, but they're not in the tribe, not in the group. So let's start going through some of the elements of rapport. So if we think about, in the context of communication, what is the most important element of communication? Because communication, we break them down to words. We can also break them down to tonality, and we can also break them down to, what else?
Language.
Body language.
That would be words.
Yeah,
So
okay.
body language, yeah, physiology, essentially. So these are essentially the three elements of communication. So out of those three elements, what is the most important?
Physiology.
Yes, totally. You've been listening to your pre-training audios. Good on you. So 7% is essentially the essence of communications. They suggest that words are only worth about 7% in 100%. Then tonality is around 38%, physiology is 55%. So the large majority of our communication actually is our non-verbals. It's not our verbals, it's more our non-verbals. Now, by the way, you'll hear people who completely dispute this, and they dispute this because they believe, they don't agree with bird whistle, they believe that if words disappeared, we're not communicating. Does that make sense? But it's not excluding any one of them. They all exist. They all exist. We are using words, we are using tonality, and we are using physiology. So the point of this, and they've missed the point entirely, that all of those things exist. But if we consider these three elements, if we were to look at our words but focus on the tonality of that word, those words. So, for example, if I was to create a sentence, and that sentence was, let's say John has been accused of stealing the copy paper in the company. Now, our job is we're going to defend him because he's one of the team. So the sentence is, John didn't. So that's going to be the thing that we're going to use, the sentence that we're going to use to defend John. So what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to emphasize specific words with tonality just to get a sense of what happens when we do this. So when I say emphasize, I mean say the word louder. So we'll use John first. So I will say 1, 2, 3, and then we'll all say it together. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. John didn't steal the copy paper. What does that mean? What does it suggest?
Someone else did.
Yeah, someone else did. Okay. So what happens when we emphasize didn't? So let's do that. 1, 2, 3. John didn't steal the copy paper. What does that mean?
Means he didn't steal the copy paper.
Sorry?
Means he didn't steal the copy paper.
He didn't steal the copy paper. So, let's place emphasis on steal. 1, 2, 3. John didn't steal the copy paper. What?
Borrowed it.
He borrowed it. He did something else with it. Yeah. And now the final word, or the final words. 1, 2, 3.
John didn't steal the copy paper.
What does that suggest?
He did.
He stole something else.
He stole something else. He stole the building, he stole the cars, he stole everything else, but he left the copy paper. What we get is that tonality does make a huge amount of difference in the context of meaning. But if we use that particular sentence, and I do this, and I say, John didn't steal the copy paper. If I do that, versus John didn't steal the copy paper.
Jeez.
What's the difference between the two?
You look good.
One's very defensive,
Yeah.
and the other one's like guilty.
The other one looks completely guilty.
Yeah.
But it's a complete reverse, isn't it? Just with physiology. It's kind of like if I do this and go, I really believe in you guys. What does that say?
Actually.
Ouch! But if I go, I really believe in you guys. Completely different, yeah? But the thing that we have to understand is our non-verbals give us away. Completely give us away. I did some work with Michael Grinder years ago, and Michael's a genius in non-verbals, and he talks about, various aspects of how we move and the speed at which we move and the meanings that we place on those particular things. And he talks about these 4-point elements. And for example, when we do this is called 1 point. We're into ourselves, so that's 1 point. So we're reflecting in that moment. When we go out here, this is called 2 point. So when we're connecting with somebody else, that's called 2 point. And then when we divert to something else like this is called 3 point. And then when we look out and over above heads and beyond, that's 4 point. But we need all of these 4 points in different circumstances. They create different energies within us. For example, if you're having a 2-point conversation and it's like this, you bring down the level of trust. And I purposely put my hands in my pockets as well, which equally reduces trust. The more I have my hands in my pockets, the less you will trust me. Because you don't know whether I am carrying a weapon or not, unconsciously. You know, and it's as basic and primal as that. So all of our communication, most of us are focusing so much on the words, but not on the delivery of the words, the physiology. The physiology can completely contradict the words. Completely contradict the words. So the point of this is not so much about what we are learning about the breakdown of the percentages here. That's academic. What is valuable here is that physiology means more. So when we bring this into the context of rapport, your physiology is going to be one of your greatest assets. Now, if you're on the phone, of course, physiology is going to diminish because you haven't got visual elements, unless you're online, of course.
And you can hear when people smile though.
Oh, you can. Oh, you can. And that's tonality, but equally there is physiology. Like if I'm curled up in a ball and I'm like this on the phone, I'm going to be constricted as well. So my physiology is going to affect my
Breathing
tonality.
rates, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All of these things do make a difference. And coaching as well, on the phone. Like back in the days when we used to coach just on the phone and we never had Zoom or Skype, what essentially you could do is you could listen to the pauses, you could breathing, you could hear inhales, exhales, all of that sort of stuff. And, you know, it gives a lot away, but it does tell you essentially what the physiology is doing. Here are the 6 elements of rapport. So there's voice, there's physiology, or there's language. So these are some elements of rapport. Now, if I chose voice, for example. Now, voice, and let me bring voice and tonality together. If you are talking to somebody and they are talking like this, and you respond by talking like this at a higher level volume and you are talking faster, you are actually out of rapport. And remember the example that I gave you about the guy who was that client that I first contacted when I learnt NLP, and he was auditory digital and I was visual, and I was talking really, really fast like that, and he was talking in pauses and bullet point. The reason that he would not have a meeting with me was because we were out of rapport. And that was simple. That was exactly the problem. So our voice has got a lot to do with our rapport. Equally our physiology, how we stand, and our languaging. If you have someone who uses a word like amazing, awesome, brilliant, cool, and they keep utilizing that particular frame, okay, that's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. If you use awesome, they will connect to you more easily because you're using a common word that they're using with repetition. Equally, physiology, someone could, be doing that, that sort of mid gesture and doing that, and then you respond by doing that. You equally are building rapport with them. Now, one little disclaimer that I want to put right here and now and draw a line in the sand. A lot of people will look at this and say that is manipulative. Well, anyone who actually says that it's manipulative probably shouldn't be trusted. Because the thing is, it's not intended to manipulate anybody. It is intended to create calm and safety and an opportunity to converse. Now, particularly if you're using this in a coaching frame, like if you're wanting to work with somebody, you want to have them feeling comfortable. Sure, there might be times that you might make them feel uncomfortable, but if you're going to create that opportunity to make them uncomfortable, they best be comfortable first, because they won't want to be uncomfortable in your space if they haven't yet felt comfortable.
So, wouldn't it be if someone was showing body language that was blocking, like talking to you like this?
Yeah.
Seems like it would be counterintuitive to then match that because you're just blocking each other. So, is there times when you should sort of use the opposite? make yourself more open?
Yeah, well, let's try it. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is just go like that for a bit, and like you could suggest that this is blocking. Though, how do you feel right now?
Just comfortable, I guess. Just
Okay.
want to sit.
Yeah, so you feel comfortable. So measure this. So no, you stay up like this. So how do you feel when I do this?
Yeah.
Do you feel more comfortable or less comfortable?
More comfortable.
You
I
feel
guess.
more comfortable?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah? You're trying to work it out though.
Yeah.
So I want you to go with your natural
Yeah. No,
K.
it seems out of sync. I
Yeah,
guess.
it seems out of sync, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And when I do that,
Yeah.
Yeah. that's even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah? So if I'm like that, does that come back to comfortable?
No.
It doesn't.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, you're not sure.
No.
Yeah, because it's whatever meaning you're placing on this posture.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this. So just put your hands down like that.
Yeah.
Does that feel comfortable?
Yep, it's fine.
Yeah, okay. Does that feel comfortable? More comfortable, less comfortable?
Less.
Yeah. More comfortable, less comfortable?
More.
Okay. More comfortable, less comfortable?
I don't know.
So some of these things we're not going to be sure of
Yeah.
as to how we feel about them, but some of them, like that particular one is going to be far more obvious.
Yeah.
So here is, and I love it when people ask this question because it creates this opportunity. Some people say, should you build rapport with someone who's defensive and angry? And my answer to that is yes. Because if you want to help them move out of defense and anger, you've got to get into rapport. You've got to see them at the level that they're at. Someone could be more extreme and say, well, if someone's, got their fists up and they're ready to fight you, should you, do the same thing? No, that's when you break rapport and run like hell. Or knock them out entirely. But the thing is that essentially, if someone's angry, let's say, for example, how good are you at acting?
I've never really tried.
Okay, so could you for a moment, raise your voice and get defensive?
Yeah.
Could you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, do it to me.
I don't like your attitude, Rick.
Look, I get that. I totally agree. There are times where I'm probably out of order and, I get that. And I understand that sometimes I need to adjust my behaviour. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
See how it can work?
Yeah.
So it could even get to an extreme. Someone says, I'm really pissed off with you. I've had enough of this. And you could respond by saying, I get pissed off with me too at times. So if I were you, I'd probably be pissed off. So tell me. How can we change this? Well, how can we change this? Yeah? So you meet them where they're at. So then they don't sound so crazy or stupid. You've kind of built rapport at that level or at that level.
So this used to happen a lot to us in the emergency department.
Yeah.
One-on-one.
Yeah.
And people come in angry, knives, weapons, same thing. Break that rapport
Yeah.
and then find out what's causing the anger. And then all of a sudden they just calm down.
Yeah.
And you identify with them and what goals they had and what's the purpose of them being in the department. What are they trying to achieve? How can we actually achieve that for you?
Yeah.
But staying calm, breaking that rapport, and it's really effective.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing you want to do when someone's crazy like that is you go, calm down, calm down. They then want to punch you. So it's. I believe that if someone is extreme and you think, oh, that's negative behaviour, don't match that. If you don't want to calm them and it's a dangerous space to be in, get out of that space. There is purpose for breaking rapport.
What about negotiators? Is it they're called negotiators when someone's about to jump off a building or whatever, and they
Oh, yeah.
or they ring up.
Yeah. Actually, I'm really excited. We've got a woman who's coming into our July training, and she's going on the whole journey with us right up to trainers. And she is that person. And I'm on the phone to her and talking to her. I'm thinking, I cannot believe you haven't learned NLP. And she goes, me too. Me too. She said, I'm surprised that the department doesn't bring in NLP
Yeah.
in that context, because it's a fantastic skill.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic skill to have, particularly in crisis situations like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely.
Awesome.
So this making sense so far? Yeah, cool. So these are some of the things that we can match in order to build rapport. So modality is, and I'm using this word now from here on, I'm referring to the representational systems, the VAKAD. So whenever I say a modality, I'm referring to the representational systems, the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and auditory digital. So we can match basically on utilising our language, whether they're more visual, use more visual words. If they're kinesthetic, use more kinesthetic words, and so forth. The other is physiology, which we've already demonstrated what you can actually do in physiology. Then you've got voice and language. We've spoken about that. We haven't spoken about this one yet, though. Breathing. If you can match a person's breathing, you will almost match their state. So what you do essentially is you kind of watch for shoulders, because your shoulders will rise and fall as you breathe. So you're just kind of looking at around this area, and then you can see the relationship between chin and shoulders, and you can just match their breathing. Has anyone ever held a baby? Yeah? How quickly I'm talking about calm baby. How quickly do you get calm?
If you're matching the breathing.
You're matching the breathing.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you're in sync with them. We haven't spoken about this one either, chunks of information. Chunks of information is essentially this. Have you ever heard someone who just keeps speaking on and on and on, and there is no full stop, there is no comma, there is no breaking what they're saying. Exactly, and they just keep going on and on and on and on. And you're thinking, oh my God, that person would make the most amazing didgeridoo player. Because it seems like they don't even breathe, they just keep talking and talking and talking. Now, how you answer this person is going to be determined as to how much level of rapport you have with them, depending on when they actually stop. So let's say they just stop right now, and you answer them by saying, I totally agree. Are you in rapport? No way. What you have to do is you have to elongate your language and do exactly the same. Maybe not exactly the same. Now, take this into the office environments these days, or the email environments. Same applies. You get someone who sends you a really long email and you send back okay.
They're offended.
They're offended. That's right. I put in all this effort and you just, okay. And you didn't even say cheers or goodbye or thanks. You said okay. So the same applies with chunks of information. So this word refers to quantity. So chunks of information. And the other, of course, is common experiences. Back in the 70s, when they used to do rapport, what they used to do is they only use this one. Now, rapport, building rapport with people, with your clients, with your customers. This is what you do. If they vote for Collingwood, you vote for Collingwood. Okay? That's rapport. Done. In the police force, this is their rapport building. Now, we're going to talk about rapport building. So, just make sure that you get in rapport at appropriate times. So, let's move on to the next. That's rapport building in the police force. Incredible. We've got voice and language. What's happening there? That's gone right down the bottom. Anyway, that's where it is. So we've got predicates. So this is voice and language. We've got predicates, keywords, cool, ace, think, common experience, and content chunks. So that's just looking specifically at voice and language. So we can also have these elements. So tone, the actual the bass or the treble. So some people speak very, very deep like that. And then you have someone who speaks like that. They are essentially out of rapport.
Can you match them?
And then you get the tempo, the speed at which someone talks. So basically, if someone's talking really, really fast, you want to talk really, really fast. Then you get timber. Some people are very clear and enunciate very, very clearly. Other people just kind of don't even move their lips and just kind of talk like that. Yeah, same deal. Volume. Some people speak very, very soft. Some people speak very, very high or loud. So they're all voice and language elements. There's a lot to remember from this, and I'm going to give you one little key that makes all of this simple in a moment. So physiology, what you're getting is you're getting posture, gestures, that was one example that I gave you, moving from the side. Facial expressions, that people have. When a child does that, what do you think the parents are going to do?
Laugh.
Wipe his
Smile.
nose.
What's that?
Wipe your nose.
Possibly, if there are any sounds or smells that follow that. So blinking, now here is an interesting one, blinking. You can actually match a person's blink rate. So if I'm looking at Armstrong now, and so he's going to hold his, there we go, there's the blink, and then you blink, 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 blink. now it's looking silly. But the thing is this, all you have to do is just they blink, then you blink. They blink, and you blink.
No, think about it, I got it.
Yeah. So that is a very subtle one. So before I get you into this particular exercise, there were two guys I could recall years ago. They were both single. We finished this module. We got to the end of the day, and I said, okay, your home play for today is build rapport. So they were living in Frankston, so they had a long train ride. And they caught the train, and they went all the way to Frankston, and there was this very attractive woman sitting opposite them. And they decided that what they were going to do was have a rapport competition. And so they were aiming to build rapport with this woman. And before she got off to the station, she stopped and she said to one of the guys, she said, "Do I know you?" And they broke out and started laughing, of course, because that is often an indicator of really building rapport. People will feel or get a sense that they've met you before or they've known you before. And you will often hear people saying, "Oh, it must be a familiar face. You must be a familiar face." But what you're really doing is you're building deep level rapport. They feel that comfortable that they have met you before. Does that make sense?